Hey guys, it's Erica, and today I'm here to bring you the highly anticipated collaboration with Kristen from GoddKnitKisses to show you how to create the DIY loop yarn planner pouch. We've got Kristen, who's very well versed in knitting, stitching, and loop yarn, to show you how to properly create a planner pouch. So if you're excited as I am, let's get started.
Today we're making a planner pouch. It's perfect for putting in your bag or purse and keeping all your pages nice and neat and fresh.
Welcome to GoddKnitKisses. We're all about helping you stitch your love and love your stitches.
This pattern and project is inspired by and in collaboration with Erica G Designs. Thank you so much, Erica. I'm really excited to be working on this with you. And my daughter is really excited to get her first planner and planner pouch. So let's make one right now. All right, to make our planner pouch, you're going to need a few simple things. Be sure and click down on the link below to get your pattern, and you can also download an ad-free one if you like. You're going to need your planner, whatever size. I'm going to help you make that to fit whatever planner you have. This is a 6-ring type, or you can get one without rings and just binding. I've got a ball here of looping yarn, and you can use 2 for this size. The smaller size will probably just need 1, and then you can use solid or multicolored or change up the stitch, whatever you like. I'll have a link to more stitch videos down below. Also need some scissors, a toggle to have a little closure like this one. This is my little sample here, or you can leave that off. A tapestry needle to sew it in. And by the way, this toggle has 1/4 inch openings, and so that will actually insert this yarn into it, so that it works really well. And a measuring tape is really nice to have. The size of this planner, if you like it, it's about 8 inches from the binding to here. Really, it's about 9, and then the binding here is about 9 tall here. Okay, all right, grab your supplies and the pattern below and we'll begin. All right, to begin, get your planner and turn it on the end like this. You can see the binding edge, and it doesn't matter if you have the 6 ring or not. You're going to take a measuring tape and measure it and see how long it is. This is about 9, or it's a 9 1/4. Round up to 1 whole inch, so this is going to be 10. And then we're going to measure along there, along one end of our loop yarn. So you're just going to take the wrapper off of this and pull the yarn from the outside of the ball. That's the way to work it. And I've already got this one marked. This just looks like one of those little hair clips. It's got a little spike through it, and then I can mark it. It's a stitch marker. You can use anything to mark yours if it makes it easier. But we're going to be working something in the round and making it longer this way. So it actually is really nice to know where that beginning round is. All right, so I'm just going to measure across where my 10 is, and the beginning of where my first loop is. And you can trim off and get it looking like this with your scissors. That's fine. Yours might not be looking like that when you pull it out, and that's okay. Also note that this little end is going to get buried inside the project. So just measure across and mark where that 0 is, and you find where you've got those loops. This is like my last loop that's found here. And then I'm going to do a +1 on my chain. So my chain is whatever that length is +1. Okay, and now I'm going to start at the end here, and we're just going to start working across all the loops. When I say next working loop, it just means the one that's not worked that's coming from the ball. Okay, now we're just doing a crocheted chain, but I promise it will turn into knit stitches. So we're going to take our working loop and just push it through that first loop on the end. Okay, pull it through, and then we're going to take the very next loop and push it through the loop we just created. So we're going to push that through there and kind of turn it over like this. And as I do a few of them, I'll show you what this looks like on the end. Make sure that you're not missing a loop as you go, and you're not grabbing the next loop and putting it through the loop that you just did. So as soon as you pull a loop through, grab it so you know what you just did. So now let's look at on the top. See this top? It looks like a bunch of chains. It looks like V, a little V here, V here. See, it goes around like that. Okay, that's important because we're actually going to be working with the side of these loops here in just a moment. So just keep working all of these through. Pause your video as you need. Use the slower rewind controls. So keep going. Pause your video, and when we come back, we'll be right at the very end of this chain. See you soon. All right, so we are at the end, and now I'm going to put through my +1 loop. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and mark it. Okay, this is going to mark the end of my my chain. So now I'm going to make something here. I'm going to pull out my sample here because I just want you to see what this looks like. So I'm actually working along this end here, and I'm going to be adding stitches that will go around this side, around here, and here, and here, and here, and eventually we'll be working our way upward like this to make all of these stitches. But in the beginning, it's a little bit more fidgety and complicated, but it actually gets really easy as you go. All right, so this very first stitch is the one that we want to pay attention to. We're going to take the next working loop that's coming from that ball, and we're just going to push it up through here, okay? And then, actually make sure don't twist it. Hold on. Make sure this is the top of our chain. Make sure it's not twisted, okay? And then we're going to take this loop here and put it through that loop, okay? The one that's marked. And then the very next loop that's on the chain, we're going to put our next working loop through. So we're going to move our yarn around. So we're just kind of moving it this way, and we're going to take that next loop and put it through this chain loop. This is the only time that we're doing this. Okay? Then the next working loop goes through this next chain loop. We're pulling it from the back side up through the chain. And for me, it helps to have a flat surface when I'm beginning this thing so I can see all the stitches and I don't miss a stitch. So like right here, I'm feeling on here that I missed something. So I actually had missed this stitch here. And so you want to make sure you don't miss any. If you do, it gets hidden inside your pouch, and that's fine, but it's just going to create extra bulk that your planner is going to be sliding against. So we want to make it as free from friction as possible. So you're going to go all the way down until you get to this very last one. Pause your video and I'll meet you there. All right, so we're down at the end. I'm getting the last one, and that little goofy tail that was there, I just hid it. I've got it hidden on the inside. The back of this chain is actually going to be the inside of your project. Okay, so I've put one loop through this one on the end. Let's go ahead and pull another loop through this end. Okay, and we are going to pull a third loop through. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3 loops on this end. Now we want to go to the next working loop. Oops, you know what? And I skipped one, so let's make sure and not skip any. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and then the very next working loop is going to go directly across from the one that's not on the end here. So now we've done one side of all of the loops of the chain here, and now we're just going to fill in the rest of them on this side. Okay, it's looking like a little centipede here, okay, or fuzzy caterpillar. So make your little fuzzy caterpillar complete by adding in all of your other loops. Okay, so continue, pause your video, and meet me back up when we get to this very last one. See you soon. So I'm at the end of my fuzzy caterpillar, and I've got the marked loop. Okay, so now I had already put one through the beginning of that earlier on. I'm going to go ahead and just keep that in here just to mark it. And let's go ahead and put in 2 more loops. So we got 1 and 2. Okay, so I've got this completed, and this is the spine, or the end, the binding end of our planner. Okay, And it's nice and full, and this is what the back looks like. This is going to be the inside, so you can see your planner is going to be something, again, something nice and rigid there. All right, so we're just going to rotate this, and you can work in right to left or left to right, either way. I'm just doing this because I'm right-handed this direction here. Okay, so we're just going to get the next working loop, and we're going to put it through the next loop. Okay, so we've got, let's see, this is, yeah, this is the next loop here, the purple one. So I'm going to move this over, and that marks the last loop here. Okay, so we're going to put in the next working loop into our next loop of the round. This is where we go. So we're going to keep going in the same direction. So whichever direction you pick, just continue going in that direction. When you get to the next loop, it's going to be looser than it was when you're doing the working chain, and that's good. But when you get to it, make sure that your loop is lined up straight, and this loop is lined up straight. So when you pull it through, make sure that bottom one especially is straight. You can always twist this one later on. And if you want to make changes and twist them all, that's fine, but make sure that they're all consistent. And this is how you can actually make different stitches as well. I will show you, if you find later on that you've twisted something you didn't mean to, you can actually go back and fix it. So I'll show you actually now, right now. So say I'm further down and I realize that this one down here got twisted wrong. You can just undo just that line and go all the way down until you get back to that part and untwist it. And it doesn't interrupt the ones next to it. It's really cool. So these are right here, these loops that are just open, they're called a live loop. So if someone was to come along and kind of tear out your work and pull them out, they would be easy to come undone. So you can also get a stitch marker or holder to keep this very last loop worked. You can keep it in place with something like this to mark the last place that you were. So if you want to do that, you can go ahead. So this is what this is starting to look like. See the stitches here? Okay, so pause your video. When we meet back up, I'll be at the end of this round and you can see what mine looks like, and we'll start putting it across the bottom of our planner and to see how your planner is going. All right, pause your video and I'll see you at the end of the round. All right, so I have finished the round 2, and we've gone around all of the loops and not increasing anymore. I finished up my last one. Actually, I started on the next round, just adding one more, so you can really see this pocket forming. You can see this is the bottom of our planner here, our planner pouch. You can really see this little pocket. See where my fingers are sitting inside here? So it makes this little spot here, so when we stick our planner on top, it fits snugly inside. All right. So the reason why we added those extra ones is so when you have a little bit more generous binding than or thickness from your added pages, it will still be able to slip on inside. If you feel that you need it just a little bit wider, you could do another increase round. I would only maybe add 2 on the end here, put 2 through this loop on the end and on the end down here. If you feel like it's still a little too tight, you can go back and add 1 more. That would be for someone who didn't have the ring binder and maybe didn't add the extra one that other round before. It's really easy to do, to just go backward, or you can try adding it this round and it will just expand a little bit wider. So you're just going to continue repeating round 2 around and around and around, and it will continue working its way up your planner, and we're going to work all the way up until it covers this end here. Okay, I'm going to cover this little class just for good measure, and then I will show you how to finish this off. See you soon. All right, so I've come to the end of my yarn. I actually need to add a little bit more because I haven't made it quite to the end of this round, and you can see that I've knitted quite a bit. This looks about the same size as my planner, and when I put it up to it, it looks like it's slightly larger. If I match up the binding, I can see that it's longer. So what you want to do is go ahead and put it in and see where you are. If you need to add more yarn, do that. If you need to back off a row, you can do that too. So we can just pull it on up. And because it's right at the end, I can look at this and see that I know that my yarn is going to kind of fold down a little bit, just like this sample here. See how it's going to fold down and become this, basically just like the chain you did in the beginning, it's going to be along the edge. So you'll end up having that along here. So this is probably a really good length, but I want to go ahead and get it all the way to the end as well here, just to cover up that little stitching. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in some more, and then we'll do our bind off row. So if you don't need to add yarn, then you'll just want to skip to the bind off row. All right, so I've gone ahead and cut these to line up a little bit more like, oh, actually, is this end? Yeah, so this lines up with the coloring. And so I've got these last 3 stitches in here, and I'm just gonna take actually the last 2 and go ahead and just slide this stitch along the back side of the one that we just did. So this first loop, and I'll need to work these 2 loops together as one loop when I go all the way around to bind off. And then this next loop, I actually want to put it in front of the the very last loop that would have been on the last ball we worked. And just put these on through, working them together. And then that way it's still a continuous strand here. Just remember that these aren't extra loops separate. They need to be worked together. All right, so just continue. Pause your video as needed and get to the beginning of your round to bind off. I'm just going to talk just for a moment. So if you've unpaused, you'll hear this. If you are not going to put a clasp or button on, then you'll just want to pay attention to the bind off directions. You won't be putting, obviously putting on an extra button or doing an extra loop that I talk about. Okay, so we're at the bind off portion. And we don't want to add anything where this loop is here. We're going to go ahead and cut our yarn, and we're going to leave a tail. I'm going to show you how to go ahead and just get this tail ready. So we want to cut this loop open, just cutting the thread in between. Cut all 3 of these loops. Actually, I may have 4. There we go, we have 4. Okay, we're going to actually use this yarn to tie it in the end. Okay, now we can take this stitch marker off. All right, we're going to start our bind off going around now, and we're going to start with the loop that had been marked, and we'll just go through just like we had done in the very beginning. We're just going to pull one loop through another across to get the V, and it's going to go in this direction here. And you're going to go down, down, down. And when you get to, if you're doing the button or the binding or whatever, the button or the toggle, if you get to the middle where you want to put the button, that's fine. If you want to put 2 or 3 across here, that's fine too. Before you get too far, go ahead and lay this out and figure out where you want to put them. So if you want to put this here and say, oh, okay, I want to do 2 toggles right here, then you're going to kind of approximately guess, and then we're going to put some markers in to kind of show where those will be. Okay, so let's go ahead and mark it here, and I'm going to skip and do the next one. So I'm going to skip that loop and leave it, and that's going to go around my toggle. My toggle is going to go on this side, and then we're going to skip here. Okay, and then just keep going across until we get to the next one. And if you want to count and make sure they're really even, you could do that. So this is kind of on the end, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and on the 6th one we do it, then we'll know kind of where they are here. So we're going to go down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's the 6th one. So we just take another something to mark it with. You can use a safety pin, you can use a clothespin, whatever you want to do, and mark that. And if that is not close enough inset for you, you can move it on down and make whatever changes. I'm going to move them 2 down. See, maybe I want this one down a little further so I can come backward. And you can make adjustments before you make them kind of finalized. Before you actually put your toggles in, you can kind of play around with them, because the toggles are going to be on the other side, and that's going to be a little bit more permanent. See, that's going to be too close. This is totally on your judgment call here. Okay, so these are kind of even. All right, so we've got these where they are, okay, and then you're going to end up putting the toggle on the other side. So go ahead and loop all these through until you get about to the other side where your first one would join, and then we're going to actually place this toggle right on here as we go. Pause your video and I'll meet you at that point. Okay, so I'm here where I want my loop to come over and hit a toggle, and it's this one right here. And there are a couple of different ways you can do it. You can cut open some loops from your extra yarn and make a strand that you can sew through it and then put it right in on there. Or you can attempt this little loop maneuver. Now, you need to be really careful when you do it, and you might want to test it before you ever do on some scrap stuff. But this worked for me before, and I'm going to try it again now because it's really cool if it works. So let's go through here. I'm going to take my wide-eyed tapestry needle and go ahead and pull the whole loop through. And then I'm going to go up through the toggle and pull the yarn up through here, and I'm going to pull all of it through really carefully because I don't want all those little pieces to come off. So I'm just going to get all that loop through. Okay. And now that's through, and I want to come down the other side, so I'm just going to put my needle through here and go ahead and work that through, and then pull it through the other side of my toggle. And then that loop comes on through, okay? And so now I have this loop left. It's kind of tight, but if I can get my needle through here, which I did, I can pull this loop through. This is the next loop. There we go. And so I have pulled through this loop in my bind off and made it all part of that seam, that edge there. And so now we can just continue pulling these loops on through. And that was very tight, and it was something that I had to practice beforehand. But like I said, you can cut off a scrap piece and just sew it in that way, and you can even like just make a knot and tie it and cut it. But this way I don't have to do any cutting or sewing. Okay, these, remember, were 2 loops together because I had changed my yarn. So just going to pull both of them through at the same time, and then the next 2 at the same time. Okay. Keep going. All right, so now I'm at the next one. And I want to go ahead and work that one through because that's what I did last time. Okay. And so I'm going to pull it through just like I did. Well, that's a little thick there. That's all right. So this is what's going to happen here. And just to demonstrate, this is how it's going to work. It's just going to close like that. See that? And that's how the bag closes. So let's go over here and try and sew this up. And again, I would need a color that matched here, so I would have to get a blue for this one. Let's get my toggle. Okay. And put it through. Okay, and then I want to bring it down, put it through the eye, and then pull that through the toggle. Okay, and then find the tapestry, the eye, and feed it back through this way, through this loop. And I'll just put the point part through there, probably get it easier. There we go. It's just that part you really can't see. You're mostly feeling your way through. Okay, and then we're going to thread this one through the eye, and then pull it on through. Still being careful. And just being gentle. I say careful, just be gentle that you're not pulling the little pieces of yarn off. Okay, and then there you have it. And so there I have a nice loop left, and I can just pull this on through that one, and it's all integrated. I never had to do any sewing. I did use a tapestry needle, but that's not the same thing. So we're just completing all the way to the end, and then now you see where I have this strand here. So we're going to take the strand and we're going to pull it up through this last loop. Okay, so we're not done, and we need to connect it. We want to make sure that it's truly connected in all one piece. So we want to go through, take our strand, and we're going to go through this first V that's pointed this way, and go underneath both of them. Take that tail, pull it all the way through, and we're going to make an imitation chain here. Okay, so we're going to pull it through, and then we're going to go through this chain here. Go underneath both of those, and then we formed a stitch. See? And so now it looks like it's totally in the round. And then we can flip this inside out, use our tapestry needle, and this is where we can sew in our ends here. Or weave in your tail. All right. Trying to find the next place I should go. Here we go. Go down through that loop here. And that's nice and joined. And we'll go through this loop here. And go back up. Okay, so that is nice and finished looking. And then I'm just going to weave my way all the way down and hide this tail to the inside. And then we can trim our yarn. So here we have our completed pouch, and slip our planner right in, and then we just close it up with our 2 toggles or your one in the middle. And that's how you make a planner pouch.
Thanks for joining us today, where we help you stitch your love and love your stitches. See you again soon.